Well, good morning. I'm J. Laurie Norris with Tell It Like It Is TV. And for those of you who watch this program on a regular basis, today we're going to talk a little bit about marketing. We're going to step outside the realm of what we've been working on and talk a little bit about marketing, because there's some conversations that I've been having recently with various leaders in the church at different places and different levels. And there's some marketing aspects that churches and ministries have maybe overlooked or just didn't know. And I want to share some of that revelation with you. But also because I'm simultaneously shooting a live streaming video for Global Media Summit. Now, Global Media Summit is coming up May 4th, 5th, and 6th. There's a little bit of a prelude before that. I'm going to encourage you right now to, well, not right now during the video, but like right now after the video, go to gmssummit.com. That's gmssummit.com. And check out the various speakers. Phil Cook is going to be there. Tracy Mitchell is going to be there. Sue Ellen Roberts is going to be there. Tim Shields is going to be there. There are going to be people sharing what they're doing in Christian media right now, from filmmaking to local ministries who are launching radio and television platforms to churches who are looking to expand their media presence. I know that there are going to be some serious professionals there. Josh Weiss from IBN Television will be there. Dr. Randy Weiss from Crosstalk TV and Crosstalk International will be there. So I know there's quite a plethora of professional, intelligent, experienced ministry and media people who are going to be coming from all over the world. And these people are going to have some great insights for you. I want to share just a really quick lesson this morning. Now, I spent 10 years in marketing at Verizon. And in that 10 years, there were a whole lot of conversations about branding and a whole lot of conversations about strategy and a whole lot of conversations about tactics. And I remember our director, Mary Welsh, at one point, she said, you know, we're reaching the place where our economy is shifting and our budget demands us not to be strategic and then tactical. We don't have the money for that. We don't have the time for that. We need to be stratactical. And I thought, that's kind of a strange little phrase, but I'll tell you something. When I moved out of Verizon after 10 years there and working my way all the way up to the brand and marketing communications manager for all of the expansion markets, one of the things that I noticed becoming self-employed over the next 7 or 8 years was that the challenge of knowing what to do with marketing and the budget to do it is a giant gap. It really is a giant gap. And the challenge for a lot of people is they say, well, if I could just buy some television ads, then people would understand my brand. Well, that may be true, but are you certain that spending money on television ads is going to be as valuable as other tactical marketing techniques? That's the kind of stuff that I'm going to talk about at the Global Media Summit. So that's just a teaser for you. In the time that I was at Verizon, negotiated about $13 million worth of media buys, spending less than $2 million in cash. $13 million worth of media buys, spending less than $2 million in cash. And I'm going to tell you some of the ways that I pulled that off, some of the little tricks that we utilized, some of the better accidental branding phenomenon that came out of those events, and how we pulled them off. And I'm going to share those with those of you who attend the Global Media Summit. But today I want to talk about something else, and I think this is something that it has a huge impact on ministries. It has a huge impact on churches. It has a huge impact on small businesses, whether you're running a church of 10 or 20 people or a business of 4 or 5 people. This is a conversational element of marketing that many, many people miss. So I want you to understand that, and you've probably heard this. I know you've heard people say over and over again that you've got to identify your market. You'll hear people say, identify your market, and then they'll use this very special word. It's actually a French word. It's called niche or niche. People will say, identify your niche. Now, here's what they mean by that. If I produce something that's best utilized by people who are left-handed roller skating nuns, left-handed roller skating nuns is a very specific group of people. People who walk dogs every day may not fit into that category. People who drive giant trucks may not fit into that category. People who wear blue jeans and flip-flops every day probably don't fit in the category of left-handed roller skating nuns. But if the products that I sell are best utilized by left-handed roller skating nuns, then they probably have something to do with black garments, like a habit. It probably has something to do with roller skates or bearings or wheels or roller blades. It probably has something to do with left-handed people versus right-handed people. And if you're left-handed and you've ever tried to use a pair of right-handed scissors, you know the frustration that I'm talking about. The rest of the world presumes that you're right-handed, and there are certain things that just don't work that way. Right-handed guitars. If it's strung for a left-handed person, it sounds different when a right-handed person plays it. And so left-handed versus right-handed seems like a minor difference. But the way the world works sounds different, looks different, feels different for right-handed versus left-handed. That's called a niche. Now, if your product or service is for everyone in the world, you need to go back to the drawing board. And here's why I say that. If your product, your service, your speech, your message, your book is for everyone, then honestly, it's for no one. If you feel like it's for everyone, you're not there yet. You're not quite done yet. There are some people for whom the solution, the product or the service that you offer, the book or the message that you offer is exactly what they need, and it's right now relevant. There are others, though, that might look at the product that you're offering and go, I don't get it. I mean, is that really a problem? Why would I buy that book? It doesn't fix anything for me. And while you may know that they have that problem, they just haven't identified it yet, trying to sell it to them is like trying to sell ice in Alaska. It's going to take a minute. All right. Within the niche, though, this niche, this little pie slice, your little triangle of the world, compared to all the rest of the people, if it's left-handed roller skating nuns, over here may be the blue jean wearing community. Over here may be the Jewish priest community. Down here may be the hippie community, and they don't care about what you have to offer. But I want to dive in to this pie slice. And honestly, in all the years that I was in marketing and branding, I've never heard anybody else teach this or anything like it. So I'm going to break it down a little bit further. Even within your niche, you have what I would call target markets within your niche. And by target market, I mean this. If I try to sell you something or provide for you a service, a book, a ministry, a tool, and that particular thing is really good for you to utilize, but you don't have the money to buy it, I may be able to convince you how much you want it. I may be able to simply present it to you and say, this is going to benefit you hugely, and that makes you the beneficiary. And as the beneficiary, you might look at it and go, these are exactly the results that I wanted. If I could make that happen in my life, that would be awesome. That's exactly what I've been looking for, but wow, that's expensive. I can't afford it. As an example, let's use maybe a homeless ministry or someone who writes and speaks and trains and provides solutions for people who are without a car. Well, they may not be able to afford what you offer. If they're homeless, they probably can't afford anything that you're offering to them. But what you offer is still beneficial to them. So you need a benefactor. Now, your benefactor has an entirely different level of conversation than does your beneficiary. When you're talking to your beneficiary, you say, can you see how this might benefit your life? When you're talking to your benefactor, your conversation with the benefactor is a lot more like, can you see how your investment, how you're writing a check for this will benefit their life? Now, there's a presumed connection of heart between the benefactor and the beneficiary. If these people don't love these people, the money's probably not going to follow. If these people love these people, whether they're kin or their sibling, or this is just a great-hearted group of people, then the relationship between these two is going to allow you to appeal to this group for the benefit of this group, and this group simply receives. This group gives, this group receives. Now here's where that becomes really tricky for people who are trying to use brand and marketing strategies to grow their business or their ministry. The conversation you have with the benefactor absolutely must be different than the conversation you have with the beneficiary. Why? because the needs of this group of people and the needs of this group of people are entirely different. What they need versus what they need is entirely different. Let me just give you an example in the area that Karen and I minister in. We deal a lot with families that are broken because of addiction. Well, the beneficiary may be the addict. It may be the person who's still caught up in addiction of some sort. The benefactor may be an outside source, but it's going to be someone who's heart tied to that beneficiary. It may be someone who was previously an addict. It may be a spouse. It may be an aunt or an uncle. It may be a family member. It may be the church that says, we really want to see these people get help. And we believe that what you're offering them will change their lives. We're willing to put up the money for them to get the help. The message that I share with the benefactor is not, here's how your problem exists. This is what you need to do to solve your problem. This is how you need to address your problem. What I'm looking to talk to the benefactor about is proven results from the past. How do they know that the money they invest is going to touch the heart of the beneficiary? How do they know that when they put money into this event, this investment, this purchase, this product, this service, this ministry, that when they put the money in, someone is going to benefit from it? Let me use another illustration. Teenage boy, 14, 15 years old, wants a new laptop. Well, when he goes to mom and says, Mom, I want a new laptop, she wants to know, will this laptop help with your algebra homework? Will this laptop help you get your schoolwork done on time? Will this laptop allow you to see the celestial heavens through telescopes and help you to break down all of the things that are in the starry sky at night? Well, that's what the benefactor wants to know, because she has a different set of wants and needs for this laptop. What the beneficiary wants to know, what the 14-year-old boy wants to know is, will it play video games? Does it have a high-speed video card? Can I plug my headphones in and listen to the game while I'm playing it? They want and need different things from the same solution. And whether we're talking about ministries, whether we're talking about a television program or a film or a movie, we've got to know that those who are putting up the money versus those who are getting the greatest benefit of it have a different conversation with us. We've got to know that we're appealing to the heart of the beneficiary in order to create and expand the demand for what we offer. We also have to know that we're speaking to the benefactor, those who are putting up the money, to make sure that they see a need being met. They recognize a need, and they see us as the solution for that need for someone that they care about. Now I want to move on to one other group. This is the group I call the ROI investor. They are, not in a bad way, just in a realistic way, they are all about the money. If you sell laptops, as an example, we'll stick with that illustration, the beneficiary wants to know, can I play video games? The benefactor wants to know, is this a good investment? Does it have a warranty? Will it help him with his schoolwork? Is it going to last a long time? Is it going to be the newest technology? Blah, 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 blah. What the benefactor wants to know is different than the beneficiary. What the ROI wants to know, the return on investment. They want to know, if I put in $1, will I get back 10? If I put in $1,000, will I get back $100,000? Will I multiply my investment by investing in your product? Now, some of the things they want to know is, will the product meet the demand of the customer? For them, for the most part, that's a yes or no. They might ask a few questions about how will your product or service or ministry meet the demand of the beneficiary, but generally speaking, they're not deeply concerned about that, not like the benefactor is. If you spend the time that you have in front of a return on investment investor talking about the good warm feelings of the beneficiary and how many of them have been ecstatic about what you've done for them and blah, 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 you're going to bore them to tears. You're not going to answer the question that they're asking either verbally or intrinsically, and you'll walk out with no investment. If you walk in with the idea that, again, this is ROI investors. This is investors who want money back from what they're investing in. If you're selling laptops and you're buying them at $10 and selling them at $100, these guys want in. They're ecstatic that you're meeting the needs of a customer because that means there's more longevity in your product and your service. But they couldn't care less exactly what way you're meeting it. Now, they're going to ask you those questions, but that's not their core question. Their core question is there a profit margin and how much of it can I get my hands on? That's not a bad thing. It's how capitalism works. But you've got to know that the conversation you have with the benefactor who's putting in money based on one or two or three of your beneficiaries versus an ROI investor who's putting in money because they see your opportunity, your business, your service, or your ministry as a cash cow, an opportunity to create more revenue. If the questions they're asking get answers like, yes, it'll play video games, they're not going to stay around long and they're not going to invest much. If the questions they're asking get answers like, yes, it'll play video games, they're not going to be making a huge investment. They're looking for a laptop that does different things than that. Now, technically speaking, and I'm not a tech genius, but if you were technically speaking, the speed of the RAM, the fact that it has a double video card, the fact that it has a retina display, the fact that it has a high resolution camera, that all of those facts are going to answer both sets of questions for the beneficiary and the benefactor. In sales, we call those features, benefits, and advantages. And so the FBAs may be exactly the same. The features, the benefits, and the advantages of the laptop may be exactly the same, but they need to be expressed differently for the beneficiary versus the benefactor, because what they want or need from your product or service, while it may be met by the same device, it has to be explained to them differently because their primary wants and needs are different. The ROI wants, needs are completely different. The FBAs for them mean almost zilch. If they mean anything, what they want to know is, how does it compete with the marketplace? Will your new device, ministry, service, book, will it compete with the 9,000 others that are just like it out there? And how will you separate it? How will you be different? How will you differentiate yourself from all the other books and things that are out there? Again, that's where your niche comes in. Laptops are for sale to anyone who wants a laptop. You can buy a Dell, you can buy one of those fake laptops that's really a tablet with an attachable keyboard. You can buy a MacBook Air, you can buy a MacBook Pro, you can buy an older MacBook Pro or a newer MacBook Pro or a newer Dell, or the list goes on and on and on and on. The features, benefits, and analysis or advantages are what answers right here. Who is it that's going to use it and what do they want it to do? That's going to make all the difference in the world as to which one they buy. The niche for laptops is complicated. I have 3, and each one does a different thing for me. And it's because of the capabilities, the technical capabilities that they were made with when they were purchased. I purchased them with a very specific end in mind. I knew exactly what I needed out of them. The ROI couldn't care less what I'm doing with my laptop. He wants to know, did they make 1 million of them, and can he make $1 on each one? That's all he wants to know. Final category that you've got to break down your niche market. Now remember, in all of this, we're still talking about the same market. We're still talking about the same product. We're still talking about the same very narrow slice of human buyers, needs, and users. Right and left-handed roller skating nuns was our initial example. 14-year-olds with a laptop is our second example. Now, COI is a little different than ROI in one very specific aspect, and this makes a gigantic difference as to whether they're COI or ROI. ROI wants money back. COI wants impact. The COI may be the person who says, my heart is really for the beneficiary, and I understand there are benefactors out there. I'm not really a benefactor. I'm ready to put my money in because I know personally I don't have a heart attachment to anyone who has this issue. But I see the bigger picture, which is where this beneficiary moves to another level of life, success, qualification, capability, advantage in life. They make a societal, cultural, community impact when their life is improved by the quality of your product, service, book, tape, ministry, whatever. I'll give you a good example. Lady that I've served with in ministry, her name is Marty Martin. Marty Martin has a very unique ministry in that she goes into prisons. You ready for this? She goes into prisons to work with people who've been convicted sex offenders, but they've served their term and they're about to be released. Having had a past of being a sexually abused victim, she talks to these people, the beneficiary, about how to normalize their life when they come out of prison. Now, you may be a grandmother whose 30-year-old son became that person in prison that Marty's going to go minister to. And so this may be Marty's ministry, and she's coming to serve this beneficiary. And as a benefactor, you're going, that's my son, my nephew, my grandson, my husband. I want him rehabilitated. I want his life to find a place of normal. And so you'll invest everything you can in Marty's ministry to see that benefited. The ROI investor may look at Marty's ministry and go, I don't understand how I'm going to make money on that. And so this group of people may be hard to target for that. Real easy to target them for a laptop. They look at 1 million laptops sold and go, even if I only make $1 a piece on them, I got $1 million profit, I'm in. The cause-oriented investor is looking up here. They're looking at the benefit to society, the benefit to the church, the benefit to the community, the benefit to national politics, the benefit to national religious impact. The cause-oriented investor isn't concerned with how much money they get back. And they don't know anyone specifically for whom they're really championing the cause. But they're looking all the way through this process into this product or service, into this ministry, and saying, if this is the group of people you're helping, and this is the impact it's going to have on community, on national events, I'm in. Because I don't have $1 that I wouldn't spend to fix this problem. If we look at the recidivism rate of sexual offenders as an example, how hard is it for them to get jobs? How hard is it for them to have normal relationships? How hard is it for them to ask for forgiveness? How hard is it for them to start over and go back and raise their family in a proper way? If that could be done, how much money would you put into that? That really is the point. If we're talking about left-handed roller skating nuns, what benefit do they have to the overall society? How does your product make their job better? How does your ministry make their life better? How do you improve the quality of their standing, of their impact, of their reach? For this, because this impact on society, that's what your cause-oriented investor is looking for. It's not a one-to-one relationship or even a one-to-a-few relationship. It's a one-to-overall society relationship. It's a big deal to them that the money they spend impacts as many people as possible. And they look very deeply at what you're doing in this ministry. They're a lot more like a benefactor. They want to know that what you do, people want. They want to know that people who are being ministered to by what you're doing is important to you and to them, and that it's actually having the impact that you want it to have. That is huge for the COI investor, the cause-oriented investor. So I want you to think about this from the sake of your product, your service, your book, your ministry, and ask yourself this question. Do I understand if I had a chance to have coffee? That's it. As much time as it takes to drink a cup of coffee. Do I understand how my features, benefits, and advantages for my beneficiary, the end user of my product, service, or ministry or book, is different from the benefactor who might buy it and give it to them, is different from the cause-oriented or the return on investment person who might say, I'm going to buy 1,000 of those books and give them away because my business card stuck inside it will make me look good as a business manager, so my buying those books actually will lead to sales. Or a cause-oriented investor who says, I love what you're doing, I love the impact it has on the beneficiary, and I love even more the effect that it has, or the impact that it has on the society at large. Could you explain differently if those 4 people sat up at your table with 1 cup of coffee? Could you have a conversation with that one person over the cup of coffee and clearly explain the difference between what this one is looking for, what this one is looking for, what this one is looking for, and what this one is looking for? If not, let me challenge you to continue to ask yourself those questions. Finally, in your entire niche, there's what Seth Godin calls the tribe. The tribe is understanding that this is about sex offenders. This is about left-handed roller skating nuns. This is about 14-year-old boys and their laptops. Now, that may be 14-year-old boys and their laptops. That COI, why would he care about 14-year-olds and their laptops? Well, maybe he runs a company that STEM education is way behind. Sciences, technology, English, and math is way, way behind. And his business, his impact on culture is failing because kids are not getting proper education. If he were to buy 10,000 of these laptops, could you guarantee that they would do the work necessary for these kids to be able to utilize them? If he bought 100 of those laptops, could you take them to a village in Uganda and make an impact globally by providing an education for 10, 12, 15 kids who never had that access before? That's what a cause-oriented investor is looking for. He's looking for pathways and channels to serve the greater good, the larger community. And if your tool, if your ministry, if your service, if your book, if your product meets the gap between his desire to impact in larger picture problems and the service you provide to individual beneficiaries, if those two things are a match, that's what you should be talking about. Now, the whole thing together as a tribe is about really understanding how you benefit the beneficiary. What is the impact you have for that one individual? How could you change their life? Do you minister to ex-sex offenders? Do you minister to women who've been abused by sex offenders? Do you minister to those who have been broken by a death in their family? They lost someone to cancer, or they lost someone suddenly to an automobile accident or an industrial accident? Do you minister to people who are in a specific frame of mind, a specific season in their life, like young moms or empty nesters or widows who have no one at home? That area of ministry is your tribe. Now, as you look at your tribe, as you look at your end user, begin to break down that conversation and say, if I had a chance to sit down with a Ross Perot type investor and he asked me the question, how will I sustain my company through capitalism by investing in you? How will I make a profit if I invest in your ministry, your product, or your service? If you'll start to ask yourself some of those questions, I think you're going to find a gigantic difference. Now, I hope for those of you from the Global Media Summit, this has been of great value. I'm going to remind you again, some brilliant minds, much more brilliant than mine, are going to be at the Global Media Summit talking about marketing and branding. Benjamin Dane, who is both an actor and an agency owner, will be there talking about how do you brand yourself, how do you create your own identity. In addition to that, I know that Cheryl Wicker is going to be there. Robin Bertrand is going to be there. There's going to be some genius impact on how you brand and how you strategize on a small budget or a large budget. How do you get the attention you need for your business? There are also going to be boot camps on social media. There are going to be boot camps on acting. There are going to be boot camps on all kinds of things. And in case all of that kind of meets you and you go, is this a ministry event or not? Come a little early for Edward John's, I believe it's called Restoring Your Soul. Go to the website. You'll find it. I apologize that I can't remember all of that in my head, but gmssummit.com, and you will find all of the information. I am also going to take all the specifics. I will tag some people who are involved in this process as well, so that you can see their Facebook pages and what they're up to. I will also tag the actual URL link so you can go straight to the registration from the body of this video. So if you're reading the top before you're watching this video, then you've already got all that. If you've watched the entire video so far, you've been with me live, come back in a few minutes. It'll have all the details that you need up on the top, so you can find the links to register, the links to attend, and the whole thing. And if nothing else, Saturday at 2:45, I will be in the branding panel, the marketing panel led by Cheryl Wicker and Benjamin Dane and Robin Bertrand. I will be talking about some strategies that you can use, even on a small budget, to extend your branding, to extend your business. Some things that you can do that will make what you're doing now more effective without spending a whole lot more money. So if that's something that's of interest to you, I'd love to see you Saturday at the Gaylord Hotel, the Global Media Summit. That's Saturday, May the 6th. The event is 4, 5, 6 of May. I will be speaking on Saturday, May the 6th at 2:45 p.m. Check it out on the schedule. You'll be able to find my name and find the list. We would love to see you. And then, of course, Saturday night is the Gala Banquet. Tickets are only $75. Bring a couple hundred people with you. Come and join us. And I'd love to see you at the banquet. Come by, say hi, give me a big hug. Love to chat with you. I am J. Loren Norris, and you've been watching Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day.